Welcome. You've splash landed into this Prosecco-laden podcast, straight into the woo-woo pool with the Crew of Ohm-g. We're just a simple group of tragically imperfect and highly empathic BFFs, exploring a wide range of atypical topics with humor, grace, and curiosity. This is Ohm-g. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, we're here for a little woo-woo and a little woo-hoo. Our topic is going to be spirituality and sexuality. We're so glad you could join us. You are here live with the Crew of
G-gasm! Ohm-gasm!
The podcast.
Welcome back. So when we were talking about different sort of like topics we could discuss, this one was something that kind of came to our minds after we did the What's Sexy to You episode, where we kind of talked about just like sex and spirituality, awakenings, first crushes, ascension. Oh yeah.
Which quiz pause. If you haven't listened to that one, hit pause on this one, go back, check that out, and then come join us again.
Yeah, it's a laugh riot for sure.
We'll wait.
We'll wait.
Go ahead.
We'll snack. But so I guess to start the discussion, any takers can go first because I need my juices to flow. I haven't had enough Prosecco yet. But thinking about like as we ascend or as we've awakened in our spiritual journey, like have your attractions or your like sexual preferences changed since, I guess, I don't know how to phrase it, since you became active, you know?
Well, actually, I think since we are all of kind of varying ages here, let's go around real quick and talk about who was your first crush or celebrity crush? Who made you kind of realize that, ooh, I like that? For me, it was Mr. John Travolta.
Okay.
We are talking.
No judgment zone. No judgment zone. I just didn't see it coming.
You have to be back in the 70s, though, when there was Vinnie Barbarino.
Oh, my Lord.
And there was the movie Saturday Night Fever and the movie Grease, and he was the hot ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, he's come a long way, baby, in many different ways. But Mr. John Travolta, soon to be followed by Mr. Sean Cassidy, even more embarrassing. So now we're moving on to Chandra.
So, of course, growing up in the South, it was John Schneider.
Oh,
yeah. The Duke boys had me going.
A little bit Twitter-pated.
Yes, a little bit.
Turned her into a blue devil.
Had the Bo and Luke poster in my room, and I had little lipstick marks on Bo's cheek. Yeah,
of course. For me, it was Nick Jonas of the Jonas Brothers. His curly hair.
Allie, too.
He was it really? See, shout out Allie. Yeah, he's just very attractive. And I think he was one of the, and as a gay kid, I guess this was huge, but I think he was one of the, if not the first, like, shirtless poster I'd put in my bedroom. And I remember an aunt, not Brenda Sue Jean, because imagine, but a different aunt on the other side of the family came in, and I had, like, one poster of, like, a girl celebrity that I like loved. I think it was like Miley Cyrus probably. And she was like, oh, and I had like basically a collage across from my bed of like Abercrombie bags and like just like all these just like men, you know? And she came in and she saw like the one little poster of Miley Cyrus. So it was kind of like a little shrine almost, you know, like, oh, I want to be her. And she was like, oh, well, I'm glad I see this. I would have gotten worried if I had it. Like, and I was just like, sweetie, you know, it was really
Be very afraid.
Be very afraid with my list. So for me, it was Nick Jonas, and I feel like there were others, but that was like my first, like, into men kind of thing.
Cool.
For me, it was Donny Osmond.
Okay.
Oh, puppy love.
Puppy love. And then Elvis Presley. Because there was a 3:30 movie after school, and they had Elvis Week, and I was
those hips.
Wow! And then, of course, Sean Cassidy. So those were my early ones.
Cool.
Back in the 70s.
So it's Alexandra, and I don't really remember my first celebrity crush. When you brought up the Hollister and Abercrombie bags, you know how sometimes it have the men on it? I'm like, oh,
Yes.
that kind of vibe. I think for a while I thought I was into like the skater surfer type dude.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, I need somebody a little bit more. But I've always been really attracted to well-dressed men. And I'm thinking of the actor who was on the show White Collar, who played Matt Bomer. And, you know, Stephen Amell, like that kind of look. And like now it's kind of morphed into like Henry Cavill. And so I have like, it's weird. I like tall. I kind of like dark hair, I like blonde hair, but it's really moved into like less of a stereotype of a person, but more like, is there any longevity in it? You know, it's like, is it somebody who is stable, who's willing to put in work into a relationship kind of thing, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Vibes.
And I've always been kind of like, oh, I think I like the skater, surfer, chill back, you know, laid back attitude. And I was like, no, I need somebody who's a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Alexandra, you are a very serious person, so you need someone equally as serious about life and intelligent.
Well, and you're also sharp as a tack, so you need someone that can challenge you in that respect, where you're not always like the
smartest
one
person.
Yeah, I can't.
I think if you had a man who was like super, super smart, that would knock you off your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And I have not actually dated one of those. So, you know,
We're accepting applications.
I'm opening up soon.
In more ways than one. Bow, bow, bow. What about you, Brenda?
Well, my sister was older than me. She was 7 or 8 years older than me. And we had posters of Tom Selleck from the Magnolia.
Yes.
And
He's
also,
aged well.
yeah,
Yes.
he has. Also, what's his name from Chips? The dark hair.
Eric Estrada.
Estrada.
Oh.
So y'all, I have to tell you that I would practice kissing them on the posters. That thing probably had so much slobber. I was disgusting.
Girl.
But
Her parents saw the wall had water damage. This poster is just so wet. The pipe must have burst.
yeah, it was bad. So I always liked older men whenever I was younger. And I like a smart man as well.
Yeah.
He's got to be smarter than me or else I won't have any respect for him, really.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you want somebody to like, I don't know about me. So take charge sometimes, you know, like I can be very decisive, but sometimes if it's like, where do you want to go for dinner? And I'm like, well, you know, I kind of feel like this. I kind of feel like that. I need somebody to give me either 2 options or I lay out the options and they go, this one. And I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
You know,
For
I don't want to be
sure.
standing there for 30 minutes going, oh, well, I don't know what are we going to eat? And I'm like, I don't care now. I'm just hangry.
Right.
Exactly.
We've moved beyond hungry into I'm angry and hungry.
Right. I think in the more you date and the like more people you date and whatever, that you start to think about the practicality of like relationships, right? And like what you want. So when I was in like middle school and high school, I thought, oh, I have to date like a football player or one of these like Abercrombie looking. And for those of you who have seen me, sweetie, like that's not happening. And also like you have to have like dinner with these men and like
Have a conversation.
and like pay bills with them eventually if you're going to be like in a long-term relationship, you know?
Right.
And so, I mean, I've gone on a date or two with guys that look like that. I'm like, ooh, and I try to like psych myself up. And then I get there and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, you know, like I'd rather talk to wallpaper. True.
Right.
Or it is like talking to wallpaper.
Exactly.
You can watch a 10 plummet to a 7 before your eyes.
Oh,
When
absolutely.
it comes
And then to a
conversation.
3.
Yes.
You know?
Well, and just like the sense of humor.
Yes.
You know, you have to be
That's
able
huge.
because life is going to throw the punches and you're going to be able to have to laugh at stuff with each other.
Absolutely.
And you know, when you feel like you're relatively sharp and witty and you say something and they just, you know, it's just crickets and they just look at you like, and you have to explain the joke.
It flew over their
like,
head.
Yes. Like having to explain a joke is like,
The least sexy thing
yes,
you can do.
for me, that's that like,
You're like,
Yes.
and it's gone.
Yeah.
This is
no.
why I'm funny, bitch. You know, like it's not cute.
you're like, I'm a Gemini. If you can't love the humorous, funny side of me, the other side is going to get real quick.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I'm married to a Gemini, so yep.
And I feel like, I don't know, I want somebody to not push me outside of like the realm of comfortability, like way beyond, but like you want somebody to push you and like to grow and change together.
To challenge you.
Yeah. And I've always wanted to grow with somebody. I don't, you know,
Yeah.
Someone
not in
who
the business
gooses
of,
you. What?
Ooh.
Who gooses you?
Explain. This is coming from a woman who was raised by Nanny Beaver with her banana salad. So what does goosing mean, if you will?
Like, is this like a dog where they come up and like jab you in the ass?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Someone who lights a little fire under you.
Yeah.
Who tickles your funny bone. Who will grab your hiney when they're just walking by and everything's totally serious.
Yes.
Someone who gooses you and kind of keeps you alive.
So you don't want to be ducked. You want to be goosed.
I got one of those.
Rose got a goose.
So, but that begs the question, for those of us who are still with the same person that we were with kind of before our spiritual awakening, like before you kind of start going down the woo-woo path, do you feel like that changed the relationship in any way? Did it make it better? Did it, did it have any effect on that relationship at all?
I think sometimes he gets a little irritated. Oh, I'll tell him like today I said, we're doing a recording. He's like, oh, okay. And it was like,
That was the best Randy impression.
Yeah. He was, I think he was a little disappointed because I'm actually getting ready for a month-long trip to the West Coast. It's our last day together before we...
Oh, you don't have to put out tonight.
She gonna pass out tonight. You can pack my shit,
Then he'll
Randy.
be like, ooh, look how good I am.
Right.
So he just kind of like, okay, I'll just sit here and watch TV while you're gone doing your thing. But, he's always... the word tolerated keeps whatever I say is okay. I'm doing this. He's like, okay, whatever.
Well, you're so strong and independent that like he's got to tolerate it. Like he's not gonna be able to change it or change your mind.
Right.
Like
You're
you're
his
like,
woman. You got the golden ticket. Come on.
absolutely.
So I don't think it's really changed because I've always, told him this is how it is. This is what I'm going to do. You either go along or sit at home and pout.
I love that Rose like, sorry, I've always been a bad bitch, and Randy just accommodates.
But he has, he has been gracious and he does understand because I actually moved across the country for him and he understands that my family is everything to me. But they're on the other coast. So he does understand that I have to go see them. I have to go to my sacred places like New Mexico and ground at least once a year or I lose my mind.
Yeah.
So
And he loves her, so he goes along. And that's a perfect scenario.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's changed.
I would say, it can change, especially if you grow at a greater rate and the other person is really not growing at all. Because vibrationally, you are up leveling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other person is not vibrating at the same level. So that can create a dissonance where like your two energy bodies don't even get along in the same space anymore because they're so different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, they don't have to be on board with everything that you do.
Right.
But I think it's good if they're open to it.
Yeah.
And also open to you being able to talk about it without looking at you like you lost your damn mind, girl.
Right. Absolutely.
And I have found that this is Chandra, that Jason has always been super supportive because he knows one, I'm a Gemini, and two, I'm ADHD. So it's like I'm gonna have a new focus every 2 months.
Absolutely.
Like yes,
Right.
exactly. Oh, shiny. Oh,
As my mom likes to call it, ADH. Oh, look, squirrel. Or ADH. Oh, look, squirrel.
Shut up, Candace.
Hey, mom.
so he's he knows it's either going to be like DIY crafty or but there's going to be something new,
Right.
and so he tolerates that really, really well. And I think in the beginning he thought this was going to be another hobby, right?
Right.
But as I got more serious about it and actually found my tribe, I have noticed that he has become a lot more intuitive. And even though he's very, very stoic, when I say things like, we're going to do oracle readings, he's like, oh, good. I get like just the hint of the little condescending look, like, okay,
Right.
I don't really believe in that. I don't really believe that's real, but you do you, baby.
Right.
Better than how nice for you. I mean,
But he's very supportive. He's very supportive. I mean,
Jason's wonderful.
Brenda and I do our woo wisdom thing every Friday morning, and he has work from home days on Fridays, and he'll be downstairs helping me set up, and, he'll be walking around with the Palo Santo for me.
Right.
And, so he's very, very supportive. But I have noticed that just certain things like, and it's silly things like playing Wordle.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll do it one night and he's like, I got it in 4 or 5. And I'm like, well, just sit there and clear your mind and see what word pops into your head.
Mm.
And he'll do that and he'll get it in 2, or we'll be watching TV and he will say the exact line that the actor is going to say right before they say it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So just things like that. Like I've noticed that, and I think it's just because he wants to come along with me, and just being in that vibration, that his vibration has kind of like raised by association. And I see him being a lot more intuitive than he was when we first got married.
Yeah. And on that high note, we're going to take a quick break and see you in a short minute.
Hi, this is Chandra. Brenda and I would like to invite you as part of our podcast community to join us on either Facebook or Instagram Live each Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern U.S. time, where we give free oracle readings for fans of the show. Just follow us on our OMG Podcast Facebook or Instagram page. You can post or DM us your questions there each week with the hashtag #WooWooWisdom, and then tune in at 11 a.m. each Friday on our page to watch your free reading. If you can't join us live, don't worry. You can always catch it on the replay. This is just our way of saying thank you for being part of our Woo Woo family. Hope to see you this Friday.
And welcome back. So this is Erin here, obviously, and I'm the last person in the group to talk about kind of like what has changed, like with your person or whatever, when you've been together for a long time and then started your spiritual journey. And so Christian and I have been together, it'll be 10 years in October. And it's a whole decade. And then we'll be married 7 in December. And so I think we've met when I was 19, he was 20, and started dating. And I mean, we were babies, we were kids who were just like incredibly anxious and just like stuck in our heads. And I think the more that I have kind of awakened, he has too on his own journey. And I think if anything, it's made us both a lot better at communicating with each other and like not being stuck in our heads about like, oh, well, I said this, did he take it this way? Or, does he really want to go eat at this place or whatever? And like ruminating on things. So instead it's like, we'll look at each other and be like, what's going on in your head? Like, get it out, and then we'll just talk about it. And I think it's just a healthy way to deal with things instead of like going to bed upset or anxious or whatever. But I think I guess I'm interested too in like sexuality and like soul contracts. I don't know if anyone has anything to like say about that, but Cooper in the corner, Brenda's dog, has something to say. He had a little hairball or something, if you heard that. But so a few years into our relationship, when I kind of started, I think I bought like 1 or 2 of my first crystals and like started meditating and stuff. We talked about this dream that we both had as young boys, like as young kids, where we were like running through this field, and he and I didn't meet until we were 19 in college, but we both had the exact same dream. So we were both running through a field, and we had this other boy with us, like that was our age, and we were holding hands, and it just felt very like super loving and like, obviously you're a kid, so it's not like quote unquote romantic, but just this like kinship and companionship. And when you would go, we were in the field or whatever, and we'd stop to catch our breath. And when you went to hug the other boy, he disappeared.
Aww.
And we both had that exact same dream growing up. And so we like joke that we're the boy from the dream, like for each other, which is sweet.
I can totally see that. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah,
You
that's
found your
awesome.
other-
Yeah.
your other part.
Yeah. And I think that we've, like what Brenda said earlier, you definitely, even with friends and family members and whatever, you can grow at different rates. And so if your vibration's not functioning well on the same level, like you either got to catch up or they got to catch up or y'all got to get out, because you can't limit each other in that way. And he and I have grown together we finished college the exact same semester. We started teaching the exact same semester. We like want a lot of the same things in life.
Very in sync, kind of.
Yeah. Very in sync. Or Backstreet Boys. I'm just kidding.
But that really resonates with me because I feel like, Jason and I didn't meet until later in life. We were both each other's second marriage.
Right.
But as we've gotten to know each other, I've come to find out there were at least 3 times that we could have met earlier, but didn't.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, like we had such similar interests that we would be at the same concert, or we would be at the same, restaurant or event or whatever, relatively around the same time. There was one time before Jason and I met, I lived in a condo that was right across the street from the Coliseum that was in our town. So there were always concerts and events going on over there. And, I could literally walk across the street. I could walk to the concert.
Right.
No parking.
You could pregame at your house and walk right over.
And did often.
Right.
But there was this one concert, and, I had a bunch of people at my house kind of like tailgating, and he had dinner at the restaurant that was like between my house and the condo, and they left their car there and they walked.
Like literally a stone's throw.
Yes.
Wow.
Like just through the woods behind my house. And so like he was walking down my street.
Yes.
Like, and I was walking down my street. Like we could have literally, I could have actually seen him.
Right.
Yeah. So just like little situations like that where our lives were already in sync, even though it wasn't time for us to meet yet.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of like the woo-wooest thing that has happened between us. But, discovering those little things has been very fun.
That's cool.
What a treat.
Yeah. Speaking of the little weird synchronicities, because when Aaron was speaking of this dream that he and Christian had in common, I'm trying to think of, does my husband really believe in the woo? And we've been together over 30 years, and it's sometimes he'll sit there and he'll say, if I would have never gone here with so-and-so and your friends hadn't gone there, we would have never met.
Yeah.
So we met through mutual friends. But he will think of these things, these synchronicities and things like that. And the other weird synchronicity is he has the same birthday as my dad.
Oh, wow.
November 14th. They have the same birthday.
That's pretty
And
deep.
I'm daddy's girl kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's another synchronicity if you think about it. And then what was the other thing I wanted to say? I just thinking of our relationship. Randy's like the rock, the solid ground. He's the constant. He's the constant, he's a wonderful provider, but I always know he's there for me no matter what crazy idea I get in my head. He'll support it.
Anchor point.
Yeah, he's like an anchor. He's like an anchor, touchstone.
Lighthouse.
Yeah, my lighthouse.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the way you said that. And yeah, lighthouse is something that actually came up.
They take a lot of water beating against them.
Yeah. So,
Pisces.
Hey, girl, you went, okay?
yeah.
As a Pisces.
Yeah, as a Pisces.
Otherwise.
And all that stuff. So, he says he doesn't believe it, but I think he does. I think he sees that there is some truth to this woo world that I'm connected to.
Mm-hmm.
So he's willing to watch. He doesn't want to participate.
Yep. Christian's
but he's
similar.
supportive.
Yeah.
And he just kind of observe. He's the silent observer.
Oh, yeah.
The wallflower.
So
I want to diverge just for a quick moment. My mom has always had like one foot in like traditional like Catholicism, and then like one foot in the door of spirituality, and that came down from her grand, and she passed on such a very in touch way of looking at religion and faith. But anyways, my dad grew up Southern Baptist, and in a small town, was not really open. His whole family, well, Chandra and Jason excluded, because they are family to me. But, a lot of them are not very open. So, my dad, when I was a teenager, I was like, I don't think I'm Christian. Like, I think I would, feel very pagan. Like, I believe this resonates with what I believe. And he said, well, anything was better than being a pagan. So that really affected me in a way I don't think he meant it to. And my mom explained it to me. She's like, I think Dad was trying to protect you because it's like he grew up in a place where that was not okay. And that was like, you could be hurt. You could be like attacked for those beliefs. And over the past year and a half, he had really I don't think he believed this way, but he really saw how much I believed. And like, he saw some of this stuff. So he would start doing that. And I would, get him a crystal for his arthritis, or, all that. He would ask me about things. And he was really interested in this, the podcast that we're doing and the business I'm starting. And, some things he was being a lot more supportive. So seeing that and him having passed, that is something I'm looking for in a partner. It's just somebody who's not maybe only open to it and lets me do it, but might also want to take a bit more of an active part in it.
Well,
for sure.
But too, just by not being closed off.
Right.
I know that he saw how much you've blossomed and just the self-assuredness that you've gained after kind of like finding like-minded people.
Mhm.
You know, it's a lot easier to speak your truth when you're with people that, you know, kind of it resonates with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think,
Absolutely.
you know, after having you found a group like that, how you just kind of like exploded.
Hey.
I think that kind of softened him to the topic of,
Yeah.
this is real for her and it's good for her.
Yes.
Right.
And I'd love to
Yeah.
find a man who is in that same vein. Either they're
Right.
interested and want to participate, or like interested and they go do their own part
Or
of
at
it.
least,
You
you know,
know,
at least respect.
and we can
Respectful
talk
enough.
about it. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like Jason is like that with
Yeah.
me. Like he sees how good this is for me.
Mhm.
Like
Bingo.
having the friends, having the camaraderie,
Yeah.
just the energy moving. Like when we do
Mhm.
spirit circles and when we do our card readings, like I don't get so stagnant anymore
Yes.
because I'm able to express that, you know, in those ways. And he sees how good it is for me. And then that is his
It's like validation.
validation.
being supportive
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah.
And you will find that, Alexandra.
You will.
Thank you.
It's just when the timing's right.
Yeah.
But it's like,
And if
can
you
that
can-
timing hurry up? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Tick, 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 tock. You're like, okay, I understand divine timing, but divine timing, can
Right.
you speed up a little bit?
Mhm.
But is anyone having fun or like strange sexual encounters, like either woo or not woo, where you're like, oh, well, this is weird, or like, oh, yeah, that don't want that to happen again.
I'll probably save mine for my autobiography, honestly. But,
Chameleonaire, from the pole to the poles. Get out and vote.
But I mean, nothing hysterical comes to mind. Now I'll
Yeah.
sit up tonight at 2 a.m. and be like, I should have said that. But no, I think it's been a really good discussion and excellent examples of how stoic straight men participate. I say that with air quotes without actually giving in and adopting the belief.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably more common in those kinds of relationships than we know. So,
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we've talked about sex, baby. Talked about you and me. But I think it's time for us to head on out. So we appreciate and love you guys as always for listening. And
If you enjoy this content and want to support us, make sure to head over to our Buy Us a Bottle page, donate, leave us a comment, follow, like, and subscribe wherever you listen to us. And we look forward to talking to you next time.
And the more bottles you buy us, the more sexy we'll talk. I'm just going to throw that out there. Peace out.
bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please follow and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a review. It's so easy to do and such a huge help for us. We appreciate your interactions so much. Want to join us at our table? Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and join our Facebook community. If you've enjoyed this content and wish to support us, take a look at our Patreon page. All information and links will be in our podcast description. Catch you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.